Hi everyone, it's Kay of Kay's Creative Home. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a special order for a small summer wreath that will go in someone's garden, a friend of mine. And here are some of the supplies I plan to use. She wanted some bright colors, orange and yellow is what she mentioned. And I'm going to be using the smaller 8-inch wreath frame from Dollar Tree because this is going on a stand that's about maybe 24 inches high, 2 feet high. Um, and it's going to, sit within the flowers in the garden. So um, I decided to start with this. I ended up not using that Deco Mesh rope, but everything else except the green mesh gets used. So I had to put on some lotion because, we have those ashy hands from working outside in the gardens, but we are ready to get started. Now, I haven't done an 8-inch wreath before, so I had to figure out where I wanted my pipe cleaners to go. And I just did 3 inches using my mat, 3 inches each, 3 inches apart. So I ended up with 7 on the outer ring and 7 on that middle ring. Did not do the inner ring at all. 3 inches apart, because it's such a small one, I wanted to make sure it was nice and full. So the 3 inches apart is why I chose that. And I'm going to work my way around here and get all these on, and then I'll be back with the next step. So the next thing I want to do is add my mesh, and I was going to try to add them all together. And as soon as I put that green in there, it started looking like Easter to me. So I took the green out and decided to just use all these nice hot summer colors. So I'm going to roll them off together. And I started by, of course, gathering my edge. And I'm going to zip tie that down. First, I'm going to put it in my first pipe cleaner and twist it in real tight. Trying to decide where to start because I ended up with one area being about 4 inches apart. So I want to make sure I fill that in really nicely and probably put the bow so that that area won't look too thin. So now I'm adding my zip tie to the edge there, the cut edge, to make sure that that won't fray or come out, and clipping off all that extra mesh so I have a nice neat end. And then I'm going to use my zip tie gun and cut that zip tie. So I decided to do 10 inches, and I'm just going to do 10-inch bubbles for the mesh. I played around with 8 inches, 12 inches, and 10 inches and decided that 8 inches was just about right. And I'm sorry I said 10 inches earlier. I made my poofs at 8 inches. And I did that based on, for a 14-inch frame, we have usually 12-inch poofs. So for an 8-inch frame, I didn't want it to be too huge. And besides, when I tried it bigger, the edges of the mesh would stand out. Whereas going 8 inches, I can still make sure that those side edges are tucked in. They aren't going to unravel or anything, but I still wanted them tucked in because it just makes a nice cleaner look. Okay, so now I'm going to just work my way through here. I'm going to make 8-inch poofs all the way around the outer edge, and then I'm going to swing to the inner circle, and I'm going to do 8-inch poofs there too. And then we'll be moving to the next step. So let me work my way around here and I'll be right back. So here what I'm doing is where I started and stopped, I ended up with 2 poofs tied down under the pipe cleaner. And I'm sorry I didn't say earlier, I had cut these 12-inch pipe cleaners in half so they were 6 inches. And when I got there and I had 2 poofs in there was not enough space left to add ribbon or anything else. So I had to go to those two and add a 12-inch pipe cleaner. That's where, you know, you start and stop in the same poof. So it was so much mesh in there, I needed a longer pipe cleaner. So you'll see those two just standing up in the air, whereas the others are kind of hidden. So what I'm doing now is just separating my mesh. The orange, white, and yellow. I'm kind of alternating how I'm pulling it out there. And I just want to make individual poofs now so that you can see all of the colors. And I'm going to work my way around doing that, being very careful. This is Dollar Tree mesh, and you want to make sure you don't pull it because it's not super strong. You don't want to pull it so that your finger goes into it, because your finger will actually put a hole in the mesh. You know, it's not super strong. So any mesh, honestly, it won't make a hole. It'll separate the fibers, it'll separate the threads, and it'll appear like a hole. And you could kind of probably rub those fibers back in place, but we don't even want to mess it up. So I'm going to just carefully separate this out and work my way around the top and the bottom ring, get all of this poofed out, trying to alternate it. No matter what I did, the orange is such a deeper color that it really stood out. So I had to make sure later I didn't use too much orange in the rest of the wreath. All right, let me get finished with my poofs and I'll be right back. So I finished all my poofs, as you can see, and decided it was still looking a little thin for me. I could see some of the frame through the poofs. So I'm going to go back, and in addition to adding some ribbon, I'm going to add the rest of this mesh I have by making rolls. So I cut 12-inch pieces so it'd be nice and thick. You won't be able to see through it so well. And with all of the mesh I have left, the yellow, the orange, the white here, I'm going to cut as many as I can get out of this, and then I'm going to be making rolls and adding it to the ribbon when I attach it to the wreath. So let's move on and we'll go on to that next step. So the next thing I've done is stack my ribbon on my bow maker, on that spindle of my bow maker, and I'm pulling them all out together so I can cut it. Instead of I usually wrap it around a ruler, but this time I'm not going to do 12 inches. I ended up doing 10 inches. So I'm just pulling it off, you know, 10 inches at a time and cutting it. And I decided on that. I tried an 8-inch piece and laid it against the wreath, and I thought it was too short. So I went back and did 10 inches and tried it, and it looked just about right for this size wreath. So I'm going to go ahead and cut 7 of these bundles here, because I have 4 ribbons in each bundle, and that'll give me the 14 that I need. Also, I think I forgot to mention earlier, because I had 7 pipe cleaners on each ring, you do have an odd number, and you end up, you know, usually you alternate the colors you add into your poofs into each pipe cleaner. And this time I'll end up with 2 of the same colors next to each other, just because I have an odd number of pipe cleaners. And it doesn't really matter once you get the whole wreath completed, because everything is so full you don't notice it. And then I'm also going to add a bow to the front, so that'll kind of hide so many different areas that you won't even see that there's a, you know, orange and yellow ribbon next to an orange and yellow ribbon. It won't matter. Okay, so what I'm doing now is putting them together and how I want them to go on the wreath. And I ended up doing the orange with the yellow and white, and then the green with this yellow lemons. And the lady I'm making this for, she has some lemon trees in her yard, so I think she'll like this lemon ribbon added into her wreath. And I am just dovetailing the ends and folding them in half so I'll know where to gather them in the center. And I'm going to go ahead and do that for each of these little bundles, and then we'll be ready for the next step. See you in a minute. Alright, now the next thing I want to do is take two of my ribbons, gather it down the center, and then grab one of my rolls and gather that in the center. And even though it's shorter than the ribbon, it won't matter. It'll add fullness to the wreath. It'll stick out about the same distance as the poofs, so to add some fullness in there. And then the ribbons will be on top of that to help fill in any bare areas. And I just left that first one on there. I will go back and shape it up. I usually just decide which way I'm going to go around the wreath first, so I don't have the ribbon all running into each other. I try to get it shaped up really nice. When I cut these pipe cleaners to 6 inches, it's a little harder to work with. If you have problems with your hands, you may not want to do that. And I probably won't do it again because it was really hard twisting them when you only had, about a good inch left to twist. And you just put more stress on your hands. So I like it better when I have a full, 12-inch pipe cleaner to twist. So like you can see the other ones, I'm going to have plenty of space to finish twisting them. The advantage to the shorter ones is that once you twist them, you can just tuck them under. For the longer ones, I'm going to have to twist it, I'm going to have to cut it, and then tuck it in. You always want to make sure you tuck that end of the pipe cleaner back into the wreath so that wire that's in the edge won't cut you as you're later shaping things up. Okay, so I'm just going to alternate. I did the yellow and green ribbon and then the yellow and orange ribbon. And like I said, at some point we're going to have two of them side by side, but it won't matter. Excuse me, I had turned the fan off earlier and it's time to turn it back on because it was getting hot under those lights. So I'm going to work my way around here, the top and the bottom round. Most of my orange rolls are going to go on that bottom ring again because I just don't want too much orange to be prominent in the top. I don't want it to take over the whole wreath. Okay, so I'm going to keep working my way around and get these added in. And then, like I said, I'm shaping the ribbon, separating it as I go. I kind of made the rolls so that they were kind of up and the ribbon goes to the side and the rolls went up and down so that they would kind of fill in those spaces while the ribbon was working on the side spaces. And it wasn't like the whole wreath was full of spaces. I just wanted to make sure everything was nice and full and that there wouldn't be any bare spots when I finished. Okay, I'm going to finish working my way around doing this step and then I'll be right back. So the next step I want to do is to make my bow, and I'm going to use all 4 of the ribbons. I'm going to start with a 12-inch tail because, again, this is going to hang on a stand. And when I have plenty of ribbon to kind of hang down below, make it a little flowy, something that'll blow in the wind. So I'm doing that, and because the wreath is a little more narrower than my, the big old 14 inches, I'm starting my loops at 5 inches, and I'm only going to make 2 loops with each color, simply because, again, it's a small wreath. I don't want to overpower it with a huge bow. So again, I'm just going to take each ribbon, 12-inch tail, and these 2 colors are going to be 5-inch loops on each side. And then when I get to the next 2, it's going to be 4.5-inch loops, so that the bow can the loops can kind of get smaller as you go toward the front, and it'll be easier to see the loops, and it also makes your bow look a lot fuller. Okay, so let me get these last 2 ribbons on here, and we'll be ready to add our bow. So I have all of my ribbon on my bow maker. Next thing I want to do is add a zip tie. I'm placing it under all of the ribbon. I'm going to pull it together gently and then lift that ribbon off of the bow maker. And once I get it in my hands, slide that zip tie around to the back. And my pipe cleaner I'm going to use to attach the bow to my wreath. So I'm adding that underneath of the zip tie. And now I'm going to pull it a little bit snugger. And then I'm going to shape my bow up a little bit. And I'm sorry this angle is not good for you all. But the way I had arranged it on the bow maker, it was pretty much shaped. So I used my zip tie gun to cut the to cut the zip tie. And now I'm doing a little bit more shaping. And before I add this to my wreath, again, because it didn't have so many loops, there's not a whole lot of shaping to do. The orange and the yellow and green ribbon that has the lemons on it, I made them a little bit longer. I'm cutting them so that they're a little bit longer than the other two. And again, that's to add fullness. And, you know, when it's blowing in the wind, I think it'll look really pretty to have all these different lengths. So the lemon and the orange ribbon are about the same length. The green got a little bit shorter, and then the yellow got a little bit shorter than that one. And by short, I mean like maybe a ½ inch, not a whole lot. Alright, so I've got my wreath done, I've got my bow, and now I've got to decide how I'm going to add it. I'm trying to find like what's the thinnest spot. Were there any other areas where I could see through to the frame? And I chose to put it in the center. I tried it on the top, I tried it on the bottom, and I thought the center made more sense. So I'm going to use my pipe cleaners to attach it to the back. Make sure when you wrap it around the frame that again you make sure the very end is tucked back into the wreath, so that the end of the pipe cleaner where the wire is won't be scratching you, or if this is going on someone's door, it won't be scratching their door. Okay. Alright, so I've got all of this added, mashed my bow a little bit, so I've got to fluff that back up, and I simply do that by opening each of the loops up and getting it nice and cute, trying to get these ribbons to fall where I want them to. I want them in the front down the center, but I don't want them, you know, just stacked together. I want them to kind of spread out. And here's my wreath. I'm really proud of it. I think it's very cute, and I'm going to do some pictures, of course, so that you can see how it looks, and hanging on the door. And right now I'm going to finish playing with it a minute, but I want to thank you for spending this time with me, and I'll be talking to you again real soon.